All right, good evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to our first Board of Education meeting of the new academic school year, which I do have to say I think has gotten off to an excellent start despite the obstacles that have been put in our path. Our team has done a fantastic job and things have been pretty smooth, and I think the reaction has been generally positive. I think people are excited to be back. And to give us a further update on how things are going through the first 2 days, now that we've got the A's and the B's both in, our superintendent, Dr. David Bernardo, to give us a reopening update.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for your cooperation and for your patience during our process in terms of preparation and in terms of reopening. We are 2 full days in. And what happens is that you have 2 first days now with this current system. So both first days are in the books. The health and safety items, which will always be the first thing that we report on to you, no matter how far along we get in this process, health and safety items will always be the first, in order to accentuate that is our primary charge at this point. And the rest of the charges, the rest of the academics happen once we can keep everyone safe. So temperature screenings have been going very, very well, and we've been moving the students through relatively quickly for the amount of temperature screenings we're doing. Masks are going well. As expected, students and staff members are much more resilient and incredibly cooperative than the media would like to make everyone worry about and believe. And our students are doing the right thing. Our staff are working with the students to make sure there are adequate mask breaks, that they're social distanced. Like with any 7,000 or 8,000 person operation, which is what we are right now, like with anything like that, we do have situations where there are reminders needed and things like that, but none of it is done with malice. None of it is done with ill intent. So we feel really blessed with that. And when we see something, we fix it. In other words, we get a little bit better. We are waiting. The only thing that we're waiting on right now, well, really 2 things. We're waiting on the sneeze guards. If you remember from our presentations, we explained that you really needed to do one of 3 things: 6 feet social distancing, masks, or sneeze guards. We chose to do all 3, but the sneeze guards are back ordered until hopefully tomorrow or the next day. And as soon as they're in, we'll have our 3rd layer in place. So we're excited about that. The staff's been great. We want to thank our unions. We want to thank our administration. We want to thank our committees for their efforts in getting this year off to a great start. The collective work that we did, the teamwork, and that the board became part of and then blessed towards the end of the process. I think that's the reason we're sitting here today, because everybody's all in, and many hands made good work and light work. In terms of instruction, our instructional pairs are strong. If you recall, at the elementary level, we have teachers are paired with a permanent sub, and the pairs are strong. They get better and better at delivering their services each day. It's obviously a little bit unique when you have 2 people working together to deliver services. But remember, the concept was that if I have 24 students in my class that are hybrid, 12 would be in on A day, and 12 would be home on A day. And the partner teachers are working together to make sure that the instruction is going well in the class, and at the same time, students are benefiting from some of the higher level Bloom's taxonomy work at home. So we're hearing good things on that. Like with anything, always a few connectivity issues that we're working on now to make sure they work. A few partner pairing issues. We're still bringing on a few more people on board. But the bones of a really good process are there. To the degree where we're starting to get, since it's working, we're starting to get people already asking if they could go hybrid, which we kind of expected, and that's a great thing. We want to bring as many of our students back to school as our families are comfortable. So instruction going well. At the secondary level, the teacher is handling both groups. The teacher is handling the hybrid students and also simultaneously working with the students who are at home. A little more complicated, but when you think about it, content specialty is really a bigger deal. And not that it's not a big deal in the elementary school, but something like physics and content specialty is high level and crisp. And we really need to deliver that both days the same way to the students. So our high school students will, the 12 students are in class, and then the 12 are at home getting the same material. We have about 20% of our students, Joe, about right, virtual? Yeah. Roughly 20%. 20 to 30, elementary is more like 30, high school is more like 20, virtual right now. And again, that number's already started to come down as more people get comfortable sending their children to school. The only thing I will say, and it's really important to note, if we are able to accommodate people early, in other words, if we're able to accommodate the switch to hybrid early, if there's an empty seat, we don't want to be bureaucrats and say, nope, we said 10 weeks. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that there'll be a bus available because the families did choose in those cases not to have transportation for a certain amount of weeks, and that we do have to contract with the bus companies. So my answer is more and more people, we're bringing you into the hybrid fold as quickly as we can, and understand that and are thrilled to be with us, and we're doing the best we can on the transportation in terms of if you did change your mind on that. Buses, we're unique as a district. We have our own fleet that services about 50% of our students, usually the elementary. It's a rough estimation, but the elementary students, with the other 50% being serviced by our new bus company, Educational. We are absolutely thrilled with Educational's responsiveness in terms of they're on the phone with us. They seem to genuinely care. Like with any first week of school, there are transportation hiccups right now. We're doing the best we can to chop through those as quickly as we can. We actually have fewer than in past years, but nevertheless, even one's too many. So we've made a commitment to each day, each run, we're trying to get less and less bus hiccups, and we're working on that. The final thing, today I sat for a contact tracing certification. The board thought it was important that one of us be personally trained in it in addition to the Board of Health. So in other words, while you're supposed to call the Board of Health if you think you have a case, and we're going to do that, we also have a responsibility to trace and to be aware of our own district. So we're not waiting for anybody else's help. We wanted to be able to do both. We wanted to be able to work in partnership with the Board of Health. And so what do we know about contact tracing? If we have a child or an adult that tests positive, we then go and we work the tracing tree. As soon as we learn of a positive test, we work the tracing tree. Who is that youngster or that teacher been in contact with, right? How many days in terms of when was the onset of symptoms, when was the positive test, when was the last time they had a fever. There are about 6 or 7 things that we then put into a calculation to determine how many people we will contact trace and ask to quarantine. Fortunately, you don't lose anything by quarantine. In other words, if you're in the secondary level, you're learning remotely. And if you're at the elementary level, you have the second teacher working with you there. So we're not going to let the worry over remote versus not remote make us hesitate, if that makes sense, to ever quarantine if we have to. We haven't got to that point yet. We do not quarantine when someone has a relative that has nothing to do with the school that might be positive. We wait for that person to be tested because you have no idea if that person has it or not, if that makes sense. So, and then when we do, but while we wait for that person to be tested, that individual is home. Okay, and that individual is quarantined. We don't quarantine everyone around them. So what do I mean? If Vito has a cousin, Dr. D'Elia has a cousin, and that cousin is positive, Dr. D'Elia, and he's been in contact with that cousin in his house, home. They had a Sunday dinner, meatballs, Vito, right? So if Vito's had that home dinner with a positive cousin. Vito is quarantined. We asked Vito to remain home, in addition to getting tested, to remain home for the 14-day incubation period, to make sure that he does not have, he's not positive like his cousin was. We're not quarantining then by electricity, we call it, right? We're not quarantining every single person in Dr. D'Elia's life, in Vito's life, because you'd have hundreds of people quarantined when we don't know that he has anything. But we keep him home as an extra layer of precaution, if that makes sense. And when he's cleared, when his 14 days are up, when his positive tests are back, when there are no symptoms manifesting, he's back and no one has lost a thing. If Dr. D'Elia is a chemistry teacher at the high school and he's positive, everyone in contact with that chemistry class, and including the bus, they are going to be quarantined for the 14 days. So we're going to take it very, very seriously and try to do the right thing here. Again, it will keep us open the longest period of time, if that makes sense. It'll let us function for the longest period of time. And that is the news. That's the contact tracing, that's transportation, that is instruction, that's health and safety. So I think we're off to a good start. I want to thank our staff. Staff went out of their way to be welcoming. A friend of mine always says the shepherd takes on the attitude of the flock takes on the attitude of the shepherd. And our shepherds did a great job letting kids know that they're safe, that they're protected, and that they're loved, and that they will learn. And that's the method going forward. Thank you.
Couple questions, Dr. Bernardo, from me. First, I got a couple questions on calendars. When do we expect those to arrive?
They should be in the homes the end of this week. They're in the mail the end of this week.
Okay, excellent. And in terms of the buses, obviously less people are on bus. Does that mean the routes are more spread out? So what's the on average bus time? Is it roughly the same compared to previous years, or?
It's the bus routes. The routes are less. There's less stops, less students on the bus.
Okay.
So they're not as spread out. They're still geographically, logistically organized, but the routes are definitely shorter.
Okay. I heard anecdotally from somebody told me that their friends in another district were that district was not nearly as prepared to go back as South Huntington. So kudos to everybody here. Everything was on point.
And we will evolve. We'll grow, we'll evolve. We want to do a nice job at it.
Just one other thing. There's been a couple questions about we're still how we're conducting our board meetings. We're still doing virtual meetings. The reason for that is the governor has extended the executive order suspending the in-person requirement of the open meetings law until October, and that in connection with the 50-person gathering rule kind of necessitates us having virtual meetings still. We just simply can't have really any people in the district office. There's just not room to do that social distancing. And having the meeting in an alternative site could be possible, but then it becomes challenging from a technological standpoint. So that's why we're proceeding like this. We're not afraid of meeting together. It's just necessitated by the different laws that are governing us.
One personal note, if I may.
Yep.
Just on a personal note, and this is an odd, it's an odd note, and I'm just going to blurt it out. On a personal note, I wanted to share with the community, with the Board of Education, that this will be my last year in public service as a superintendent of schools. I'm going to be retiring from this particular job in June. The Board of Education has been gracious and certainly offered that I could stay with them and all of you. And my heart is here. Please know that. It is nothing, it's no animus at all. It's just that I don't want to lose a step. And but I will still be involved deeply with the district. I'll still be involved deeply with the team. This district captured my heart. So I am here with you. And the next 10 months, there is a tremendous amount of work to be done. So we're going to work into the last minute of the last hour in June. And also, I know that the Board of Education has asked that we talk about this now, tonight, because I know they want to move in a situation in a quick fashion where whoever gets on board, whoever is hired as my replacement, we have several months together, you know, January, February, March, April, May. Those months are priceless, and, you know, I look forward to that. So I want to thank the board for their love. It's been incredible. We got a long way to go, though, so I don't want to get melodramatic. Got a long way to go. Been incredible. Love you guys, and always my heart is here.
I'll be a little mushy. I have a statement that the board prepared. For the past 9 years, the South Huntington Union Free School District has been blessed to have been led by one of the finest superintendents in New York State. When he was hired in 2012, the board had high hopes for Dr. David Bernardo's tenure as superintendent. His time in South Huntington, however, has far surpassed every expectation. With his dynamic leadership style and tireless work ethic, Dr. Bernardo rejuvenated our school district, restored Wildcat pride, and transformed the school district into an academic powerhouse. With a deep and abiding belief in equity, Dr. Bernardo diversified our administration and staff and developed a model for the successful education of a diverse population that truly leaves no student behind. On the strength of his incomparable interpersonal skills, Dr. Bernardo developed strong and lasting relationships with staff, administration, parents, and the Board of Education. Dr. Bernardo became liked and respected by everyone in the South Huntington community. While we would have been thrilled as a board to have Dr. Bernardo continue to serve as superintendent for many years to come, after 30-plus superb years in education, he definitely deserves some rest and relaxation. The board, however, is forever indebted to Dr. Bernardo for his incomparable work here in South Huntington. And also importantly, we want to thank his wife, Jill, his children, Connor, Tiana, and Janelle, for their support and understanding for all the late nights, virtually every night, and nonstop work associated with this job. No one has ever been more devoted to their craft. Dr. Bernardo's departure will leave huge shoes to fill, that goes without saying, and the Board of Education will immediately embark upon a search for his replacement. This process is expected to take months, and it will conclude only when the board finds a candidate with the leadership skills and vision to further improve student academic achievement. While Dr. Bernardo's retirement is an enormous loss to South Huntington, successful organizations have deep rosters of talent, and South Huntington is no exception. With exceptional administrators at every building and extremely bright and dedicated faculty and staff, our foundation remains solid. I've been a student in this district since I was 6, maybe 5, so that makes about 35 years in the district. Dr. Bernardo is the best superintendent we've ever had in this district, and that goes without saying, and also one of the finest human beings I've ever met.
Oh my God. Well, I will speak to this point because I think this is that moment in time when we, you know, having introduced the topic to the community, and the answer is no. We don't accept your resignation. You know, in truth, I've been on this board since 2009, and you know, watching what Dave Bernard has done to help this community grow into what it is now is something we as a community will never be able to pay him back for. We are so blessed. We're blessed. All the stakeholders in our school district have just been so amazing, and it's been under the leadership of Dave Bernardo. You are one of my best friends in the world, and we are never going to replace you, but we're going to try hard to find a successor. Somebody equally as generous of heart and time as you are.
I'm gonna be like that cat that keeps coming back to eat on the stoop. Keep showing up at your door, scratching on the door. Thank you all.
Thank you. We have business to do, which we will continue to do throughout the year. There'll be time to reminisce later on. We will find an appropriate way, I'm sure, to celebrate Dr. Bernardo's very successful tenureship.
Who?
What?
It didn't take long.
All right, into our business agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Joyner. All in favor of adopting the agenda? Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. Items C through F require one resolution for adoption. Is there a motion to discuss? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Nikowitz and Ms. Carey. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. We then moving on to our new business. We have new business, item number 1 is a confidential personnel resolution. Motion to discuss? Mr. Nikowitz, seconded by Ms. Carey and Mr. Joyner. Are there any questions on this resolution? It is a personnel matter that the board has been updated on, which is accompanied by a settlement and release. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 2, it's another confidential personnel resolution. Motion to discuss. Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Nikowitz. Are there any questions on this confidential personnel resolution, which was the subject of our earlier executive session tonight? All in favor? All opposed? Resolution is adopted. For transparency purposes. That personnel resolution governs our cabinet and for compensation for this year, and secondarily, it also provides contract extensions for 2 members of our cabinet to ensure that they're going to be here until 2024. That is Ms. Propillo and Mr. D'Elia. So congratulations on your extensions.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Dr. Senimore already had
Yes.
a contract that carried him through.
You can have one too if you like.
Thank you. Very kind.
Item number 3 is the extension of the probationary period for a faculty member. Motion to discuss. Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. Senimore, without mentioning the person's name, can you briefly describe what we're doing here?
Yes, it's a several-month extension of the probationary period, just due to time served in the classroom, just to give a little bit more time. No concerns.
Okay. Board have any questions on this? All in favor? All opposed? All right, resolution is adopted. Moving on to new business item number 4, approval of a agreement with Suffolk County. Motion discussed. Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Nikowitz. Okay, this is an agreement between the South Huntington Union Free School District and Suffolk County to participate in the school bus stop arm enforcement program. Dr. D'Elia, like to tell us a little more about it?
Sure. We're about 25 school districts have opted in to this program, where it entails the county coming in at no expense to the district to install some cameras on all of our in-fleet buses and cars, obviously, and trucks, vehicles going around the bus, passing a stop sign. They would be ticketed for it, and we would not receive any of the funds from those tickets. But as part of the one perk that they're offering us is that if we participate in this program, they would be willing, the county, to install GPS and cameras on all our in-fleet buses.
Wow,
That's good. That's big.
that's awesome. Excellent. Board have any questions on this program? Good. All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
It's a nice system, Mr. Spitta, because it enables us to keep kids safe, but it doesn't put us in the fine collection or levying business against our own parents and community. It's never a good place for a school district to be in. So the county handles that, and at the same time, our students are protected, which is kind of a nice thing.
All right, new business item number 5 is the approval of agreement between the town of Huntington and the South Huntington Union Free School District. Motion to discuss. Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Nikowitz and Mr. Joyner. This is a annual agreement that we do with the town, which authorizes us to participate in their youth court program, kind of a alternative dispute or discipline resolution, if you will, where the students are the judge and the jury and the prosecutors. It's kind of a really cool thing. Board have any questions on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Dr. Bernard?
One of the nice things about this process is it's part of an alternative justice program. In other words, one of the tricks in really building a positive school culture and a positive district culture is to be able to have discipline, to be able to have rules and regulations, to be able to have standards, but at the same token, to give young people a way to get a life preserver when they make a mistake, and to come back into the fold so you don't have recidivism over and over and over again with the same revolving door. And we're constantly looking for ways. I know that Mr. Murphy and Mr. Smith have chopped suspensions down to, God, about a third of what they were. But that doesn't mean that we're not holding students accountable. What it does mean is that we're finding creative ways for children to learn from their behaviors, whether it's using a tobacco cessation program instead of punishment for a cigarette. So we get someone to stop smoking rather than getting caught in that cycle. Same with youth court, whether it's bringing the young people in front of their peers so they can grow and take responsibility for their actions. So, I commend the board for building this relationship with Huntington Youth Court, and I commend John Murphy and Eddie Smith for really using it at the secondary level as an alternative way to get people involved with correcting their own behavior.
What kind of things go there?
It could be a minor theft, could be a minor alcohol issue, things like that, where we can get you in there and get some corrective action, get you in some treatment, get you in some therapy. So things like that, things that are typically victimless, although victimless is what you really try to send there.
Does it have to be on campus, or is this off campus stuff as well?
It can be off campus, provided that I have the latitude of making the nexus connection, right? And our parents have been incredibly cooperative because they see it as a helpful thing in their kids' lives. So 99% of the time, even if we stretch it with off campus, the parents are with us as part of the team.
Quick question.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
How does this participate in reducing, I know you talked about recidivism, but also ostracism within the peer population of students?
I think that one of the things that we've removed the stigma of going to this youth court, because what it does is, in many cases, these are their peers, and the peers are trained to give a non-judgmental approach to the process. So what we work very hard to do is to make sure that any young person that might have been wronged is not involved with that youth court, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that way they don't have a horse in the race to ostracize their peer.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a dance, though. It's a
I'm
dance. and we want to
quite
be
sure
real careful. with it.
it's not easy.
No.
Is it considered confidential or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions, Mr. Jones?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Dr.
It's
Bernardo.
really cool. Yeah.
Recommendations for the placement of students by the Committee on Special Education, dates listed in February, March, April, May, June, July, August. And the Committee on Preschool Special Education, dates listed April, May, June, July, and August as well. Motion to discuss. Mr. Nickwitz, seconded by Mr. Joyner and Ms. Carey. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, item 6 is adopted. Moving on to item 7, the approval of an agreement with the South Huntington Teachers Association. Motion to discuss. Ms. Carey, seconded by Ms. LaCara, Mr. Nickwitz, and Ms. DiGatano. This is an extension of the terminal leave provision of our contract with the South Huntington Teachers Association. It's been extended a couple times before. We're extending the deadline now until September 25th for teachers to retire within a retirement date of no later than October 30th. Anything else, Dan? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. New item number 8 is a discussion only, no resolution needed. It's a discussion of proposed amendments to the South Huntington Board of Education Policy Manual, specifically policy numbers 5686, Information Security Breach and Notification, and policy 7244, Privacy and Security for Student, Teacher, and Principal Data. Dr. Senimore, can you give us an update on these? And just for the public, normally we have Mr. Bronson, who is our Policy Committee Chair, provide this information, but he was unable to make it tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So all these drafts, they relate to data privacy protection. The first 2 drafts are replacements for existing policies. Regulation requires that school districts are in compliance with these updates by October 1st. These drafts have been fully vetted by Ingram & Smith, our legal counsel, as well as our technology department. And after this discussion of the board, the next step in the process would be for the Policy Review Committee, which Mr. Bronson chairs, to review the policies, and then the board to take action in the next meeting in September. What I'll do is I'll give you an executive summary of each of these drafts, and certainly I'll answer any questions you may have. So the first draft, again, is policy 5686, and this is with regards to data security for networks and systems. And the key here is protecting personal identifying information. You'll see it referred to throughout these drafts as PII, personal identifying information. So obviously the theme here is securing data and determining if there is a breach, and then going into the notification process and also the coordination process with various state agencies. And this first draft will replace the current policy that is in place with regards to our networks and our systems. The second policy draft, number 7244, this is with regards to data security for students and staff. You'll see a reference to an abbreviation called NIST, N-I-S-T. That's the National Institute for Standards and Technology. This policy will replace the current policy. It goes into, for several pages, defining key terms such as breach and disclosure. It talks about setting these national security standards. It examines how data is being used, for what purpose. It talks about compliance with FERPA and IDEA, establishing a data protection officer, which is me in my capacity, looking at the privacy and security, confidentiality of data, all right? And in terms of when we examine why we're using data, obviously as a school district, our primary purpose is to improve student achievement, close achievement gaps, increase operational efficiency, and of course, parents as partners, we want to further empower parents, provide them with access to information, and give them the means to report any kind of concerns that they may have. So that is draft number 2. The third draft is the Parents' Bill of Rights with regards to data privacy and security. This has updated language than what we currently have in place, and the focus here with the updates is on the third-party vendors and their obligations to ensure the security and protection of data, and for them to have processes in place as well with regards to notification to the school district. So that's the key enhancement to the Parents' Bill of Rights, to focus on the third-party component. The fourth draft is for the service provider, also known as the vendor or third party, and it goes through their obligations with regards to for what purpose are they using the data, what's their practices with regards to ensuring accuracy or corrective action if it's inaccurate. If they are subcontracting, what are the details to the subcontracting? What are their security procedures? How do they handle data retention and disposal in terms of their life cycles? What are some other safety protocols such as encryptions, as well as training?
Who would sign a document like that? Like what kind of entity?
You may have an app that you might use for informing parents and students of upcoming events. And that data that's in there, we would want to make sure that that app company is not sharing that data, for marketing purposes and other purposes such as that.
Okay.
You have student management systems, you have staff management systems.
So like something like Infinite Campus?
Infinite Campus, WinCap, absolutely.
Okay, good. And these policies are much meatier than the previous policies.
Yes, you'll definitely will notice they are much more robust than the policies that were recently done. The ones that were recently done were basically a placeholder
Okay.
while these are being developed. And again, we had extensive, there were drafts that were developed by BOCES and other entities, but we had these extensively reviewed by our legal counsel and our technology chairperson and technology team.
And was this just done to upgrade, or was there some change in law that occasioned the need?
There were changes in regulation of law, in particular Education Law 2D, that required this enhancement of defining of safety protocols and notification protocols, and especially a key component with the third-party vendors.
Okay. Questions from the board on the policies? We're not voting today. You'll have an opportunity to vote, I guess, next meeting. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Senimore, for your work on that. The policy committee as well. Policies are substantial, so a lot of work there. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, also a discussion item. So discussion of graduation options for 2021. Hopefully, we have a regular graduation this year. Let's say a nice prayer if you pray, not hope. So we kind of thought about, we kind of periodically review our graduation dates and times. Every few years or so, we've had a lot of different options. We've had Sunday morning, Sunday midday, Friday night, Saturday morning early, and this year we had about 9 different ceremonies, and we pretty much had it all different times. So we got an opportunity to have a sampling of everything and see what we thought was best. And in light of that, to reevaluate whether we want to continue to do Saturday morning, I think at 10, or we want to try some other date and time. So I will open up to any thoughts that the board may have. Alternatives, Ms. Carey, any suggestions? Or?
Friday night.
Okay.
It was beautiful watching the sun go down, having kids there. So it was a perfect night. And then you have a rain day of Saturday.
I mean, what time would we think? I mean, it was very, some earlier was hot. What was that? Oh. Michelle, did you have a comment?
I can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear. Okay.
I just mentioned I like the Friday night, and if we started like 7:30, and it went into when the sun went down, it was really very lovely this year. After doing 8 of them, that really was my favorite. Even the Saturday night was nice. Just the nighttime was a very nice feel.
I just have to say there was something beautiful about seeing the sunset, and it got a lot cooler.
It's beautiful about seeing the sun at all.
Yeah. What are the board's thoughts on, we have a proposal to do, I guess, Friday at 7:30-ish?
Yeah.
And with a rain date on Saturday at 7:30-ish also. Versus, I guess whatever we were doing now, Saturday morning.
Nick, can I say something?
Yeah, it's Joyner first and then you.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say, in terms of giving variety, will this be an off-on year sort of thing? So if we do it one year at Friday evening, would we switch in the next year, depending upon the demand, or how would we gauge that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had times where we do it a couple of years in a row. We could, up to the pleasure of the board, if it doesn't work out, if we choose this and it doesn't work out, we can certainly change it again next year. This would just be for this year only. Sometimes we make this decision in the summer so we could put it in the calendar, but everything's kind of up in the air now, and the calendar doesn't have all that much information when it comes out. So we can certainly implement it for this year, for sure. Any thoughts on that time, or?
Oh, I mean, as long as it provides enough time for people to, you know, families to get there and to navigate what a Friday is like on the month of June. I mean, 7:30 is a great time.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I think we did 5:30 in the past. I found that, I didn't really love that time.
Cutting it too close.
People leaving work, yeah. With a 7:30 time, if we do it, hour and a half, would be done by 9. Ms. LaCara, your thoughts?
Well, both my children actually graduated on Friday night. That was the few years that it was there. And I think 7:30 would be lovely, because 5:30 was a little early. I think it was 5:30 then. And I think 7:30 would be wonderful. I like the Friday night for both my children.
Okay, it gives us a rain date option. Ms. DiGatano, your thoughts?
I'm not a fan. I said it last year, I'll say it again. I know that, you know, that it's cooler and, you know, but you can't predict weather. And my fear is that you have a graduation at 7:30 at night with 400 kids. It doesn't end till 11:30. I don't know how, I mean, graduation, the normal graduation with every kid is 3 hours.
No, we've gotten it down.
I don't remember. What
Yeah,
was it like? Was it an hour?
We've gotten it down under 2 hours recently.
2 hours?
Yeah.
So even 9:30 on a Friday night, this is my opinion, you know. I like the Saturday. I think you graduate and then you spend time with your family. I'm not a fan of 9:30 and 400 kids going home. I don't think 400 kids on a Friday night are gonna go home. Just my opinion.
Okay.
And I know other school districts do it. Just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nikowitz, your thoughts?
I mean, I see points, you know, I don't have strong leanings either way. I hope that doesn't sound like a cop-out. You know, we have a rain date, you know, I understand Mr. Gattown's points. I understand the beauty of a 7:30 at night, you know, ceremony. I probably would suggest that, you know, I'm gonna, you know, after this past year, with what we had, I mean, you know, the ceremony that I was in attendance, the graduation ceremony was at sunset, and it was beautiful. But, you know, I just don't have strong feelings either way, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think they're both beautiful.
Consensus among the board? We don't have it on for a vote, but, I mean, we can take a consensus. Mr. Joyner, you were okay with 7:30?
Yes.
Ms. Carey? DiGatano, no. Ms. Nikowitz, okay, somewhat. Ms. LaCara, you liked it. I'm okay with it also, to try it out. I think, you know, it gives us the option of the rain date. I do like that. I do not like 5:30. I wouldn't have done that, or 6. I think it's too rushed for people. Hopefully we have a ceremony at all.
Right.
But I thought 7:30 was a very nice time. So we haven't tried that before. I'm open to trying it. Okay. That's it.
Say that if you're
Okay, thank you for the board for your thoughts on it. Okay, personnel, schedules 2, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 20, and 22. Motion to discuss, Ms. Carey, seconded by Ms. DiGatano and Mr. Nikowitz. Any questions on the personnel schedules? All right, information and reports, sorry, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, information and reports are listed. Committee reports, the facilities committee met on August 19th. We discussed properties that are up for sale, and as well as school reopening, the different things that we've put in to make our school safe and secure, which we've covered extensively. We also talked about our grants. We have a number of outstanding grants that we've applied for. Going back to many years, we got a grant a number of years ago from now Supervisor Lupinacci, then Assemblyman Lupinacci. It was for a cybersecurity lab. We're still waiting for that money. 5-6 years later, it really, I'll call it a joke. It is a joke. We get awarded these grants. Everybody sends out a nice press release. We send out a thank you letter. We get excited for the project, and we don't see the money for 5 to 6 years later, with no guarantee that we're ever going to see it. So it's really, really disappointing how the state does this grant process. And we've spoken with members of the Assembly and the Senate about this, and everyone acknowledges the problem, but it doesn't seem to get fixed. It just seems to get lost. I think it's governed by DASNY, which is an acronym for the state agency that oversees it. They don't oversee it well. It takes too long, and it's really disappointing. So we had a grant that we were looking to do a couple of years ago for $200,000 for the teen center. Well, since we sold the teen center, we are thinking about reallocating that grant to a different purpose. And the committee's discussion was to do a life skills room at Stimson that would provide a complement to the one that we have at Woolworth High School. I think that's the committee's recommendation. How to allocate that money. I think that's certainly a worthwhile project. It really add something nice to the district. We had plans to do that in the bond. I hesitate about getting too excited about it because who knows when we'll ever see that money. But in light of that, we have written a letter to Assemblyman Stern and Senator Gorin pointing out this problem, and hopefully I'm sure we'll get a response back, and hopefully they can help break the gridlock in Albany on this. And the Facilities Committee also discussed ongoing capital projects, specifically Walden High School Forum, Stimson Middle School parking lot, bathroom renovations at the office here, and also changes to the Walton Performing Arts entranceway, which I think looks really nice. I will save that for now because I think what we could do is at our next meeting get a little facilities update on the things, because in addition to those capital projects, our in-house work really was much more efficient and pronounced this year, and we were able to do a lot with our existing staff. So we'll have do a little presentation next time and give the community an update on our facilities work. Okay, future meetings are listed: September 23rd, October 14th, October 28th, November 18th, and then December 9th. They're listed at various buildings, but that's all up in the air. Comments by board members? All right. Yes, Mr. Joyner.
I don't know if everybody's aware, I just wanted to acknowledge that the chef committee, that there was a change in leadership. Sheila Busey is now the president of chef. So just wanted to acknowledge that and how we're moving forward in the new year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Ms. Busey, and also we want to thank Mr. Ciarabolo.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Charles for his work.
Long time serving in that
Long
position.
tenure. Long tenure.
Long tenure.
He's done a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up and reminding us. Thank you. Any other comments by board members? All right. Now we're going to switch to the Zoom meeting for any voices of the residents that we have. We'll also, while we're doing that, Ms. McLean, did we get any written responses in?
No.
Okay, so no written questions. And do we have any? Okay, so we have no residents wishing to comment on anything, and with that, we'll have a nice way to close our meeting on an uplifting note. We're going to show a brief video that was put together of our graduations this year, and when you're ready, we'll show that to the community. Yeah. Look at that, yeah, it's like a beautiful background. Excellent,
Bravo.
excellent. Excellent. One final tribute to the class of 2020, a class like no other, in a year like no other. All right. With that said, anyone else? We will take then a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Carey, seconded by Mr. Joyner and Mr. Nickowitz. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, everyone, we stand